Yo, Shabar with a video. Jeff Nippard thinks science sucks. And that's a statement I thought I would never say.
Science-based lifting is when you base your workouts around what the science says is best for muscle growth. It's a relatively new style of training, the opposite of the more old-school shut up and lift approach. Science-based lifters do optimized exercises, track their weights, and instead of always pushing their muscles as hard as possible, they push themselves in a more controlled way, hard enough to maximize the muscle stimulus, but not so hard that you create too much fatigue. This is basically how I've trained for the last 10 years, but this style of training is clearly under attack.
Okay, so to start off the video, I'm going to ask you guys to comment down below if you are a science-based lifter or if you just use experience or you're just kind of like a bodybuilder type lifter. I honestly think that I'm kind of like a science-y lifter, or science-based lifter. I'm just a mixture. I'm not like too much on science like Dr. Mike Israetel would be, or Jeff Nippard in this case, but I do use some science in my training.
Alright, let's start with the most popular science-based lifting advice, that slow negatives are better for muscle growth. Anytime I hear anyone talk about science-based lifting, the first thing I hear is that you need to slow down the negative, that part of the lift where you're lowering the weight back down. But do slow negatives actually build more muscle? Now, some of you may object that Mike Israetel preaches slow negatives and he's an expert.
Slow.
And yes, Mike is an expert, and I value his opinion. So I wanted to give him a call and ask him why. So Mike, based on the workouts we've had together, I've gathered that you like to use slower negatives. Could you explain your rationale behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a few layers of rationale. It's a little bit nuanced, and so sometimes I think I get, understandably, kind of interpreted by other people as like just carte blanche advocating slow negatives. A lot of people will assume that I think there's a direct hypertrophy benefit to them, and I don't think that. But there are some good reasons to use a slower negative. I can tell you, like, okay, slowing down your negative doesn't directly cause any more muscle growth, but it's substantially safer.
This is something very common, especially right now. And what Dr. Mike Israetel just said is that he doesn't think that slow negatives directly cause muscle growth. It's just safer. And I have to agree with that. Slowing down the eccentric part of your lifts or just the lowering phase is going to be a lot safer than letting the weight control you. Because if you don't control the weight and you just let it go down fast, you could possibly injure yourself. So for example, let's say you're doing 225 on bench press and you don't have a spotter and you just go straight down. You could possibly go and hit your neck, or something else could happen. So making sure that you're actually slowing down the lowering part of your lift is going to be the safest option.
Another very popular science-based trend involves technique tips and tweaks. The idea here is that you modify exercises in a specific science-based way and you'll build more muscle. I use some of these little tips and tweaks myself, like setting the seat back on leg extensions, staying in the stretch half on calf raises, and raising the cable height on lateral raises.
I believe that some of the science-based stuff, for technique-wise, like just doing the stretch part of a lift, can be helpful. You want to at least try it and see if it works for you, and if it doesn't, then just don't do it, because it's just going to be a waste of time. Anything science-based, I would probably recommend you at least try it and see if you like it. Now there may be some things you don't want to try at all, and that's fine, but at least try something, because you would probably find out that doing one of those technique tweaks will actually help you build more muscle, and it will help you have a more effective workout.